The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said.
Hello everyone, No One of Consequence here, back again with a new video. First, thanks for clicking on it. This is the 9th episode in a series that will be documenting my ongoing Dungeons & Dragons campaign, which is now in its 9th year. If you've been enjoying this content, please consider hitting the like button and also consider subscribing to the channel if you have not yet done so. Alright, so as always, start off with a spoiler alert. In this video, I will be revealing details found in this adventure module. So if you recall last time, the characters were searching for their comrades, Obrak and Aramis, who had been captured by ghouls and taken away. And the characters, along with Otis, found this prison holding area / torture chamber, and talking to some humans that they freed, they found out that Obrak and Aramis had been held here, but had been taken away only moments before by the Earth Temple forces for sacrifice. And there was also, in a separate cell, an orc who said that his comrade, another orc, had been taken away with the other characters, and he said that if the characters would release him and give him a weapon, that he would be willing to fight alongside them so he could get his revenge and also hopefully try to free his friend as well. So the characters and Otis and their new orc ally moved further into the temple area. They sent the sergeant major up ahead. Being an elf, he has infravision, and so they thought he would be able to, warn them of any danger. But as it turned out, rounding a corner, he saw, well illuminated by torchlight, a series of Earth Temple guards, all of whom had the familiar triangle shield device. And so the characters immediately charged all of them, and as you can see from some of the results there on the right-hand side, they initially had some pretty good success taking out several of them. Another thing amongst them was this half-orc crossbowman who, when he saw the characters coming along with the orc ally, he immediately switched sides to the characters, saying that he had secretly hated these Earth Temple people because they torture and sacrifice orcs. And you can see him there in the upper right-hand corner of the corridor, standing next to Quint. Rounding the corner, the characters saw that there was a huge chamber that, instead of the normal stone floor that they had been seeing, the floor was loose dirt. And, of course, this being the Earth Temple, that would make sense. So the characters here are fighting those Earth Temple guards, and then you can see some other leader types moving up in the Earth Temple itself. Some of the fighters, and then also someone who, in these brown robes, who is one of the under priests. In this screenshot, the half-orc that defected to the character's side, he, as I mentioned earlier, he had a crossbow. He turned and shot at one of the Earth Temple guards and scored a critical hit. You can see it there on the right-hand side. So after that, his initial attack, the characters had no doubts that he was on their side and could be relied upon to fight alongside them. So this is a little further into the battle. The half-orc has joined up with the full orc there, fighting alongside the characters. the Sergeant Major and Garrett are finishing off those guards in the upper left. And you can see that Quint and Otis are actually moving towards the temple area itself. You can see there's some flame there on that temple under priest. What that was from is Thorol, the wizard there, had a Halloween item that was it's a packet of pumpkin seeds, and you can throw them and they erupt into a miniature fireball. And it's strong, it just doesn't have as big a radius as an actual fireball, but he threw it at that Earth Temple under priest and hit him, and you can see the results of that. So Thorol had taken him out. So this scene here is a zoomed out view of the entire Earth Temple area. Several things have happened in here. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen more Earth Temple forces are moving to engage the characters. Quint has deployed one of those Christmas holiday items, a snowman, which absorbs damage meant for the character until it is dispelled. Rory, you can see he's got an icon next to him. He had rolled a fumble, and I don't have the result on here, but one of the fumble results that you can get is essentially you trip and fall and hit your head and are knocked unconscious for a brief period of time. And that's what's happened to Rory here. So for the time being, he's out of the fight. You can see down there at the bottom of the screen, in the middle of this big Earth Temple chamber, is a pyramid. And you can see Obrak and Aramis are up there. They're chained to a pillar at the top of the pyramid intended for sacrifice, and you can see they're low on hit points because they had been attacked by the ghouls earlier and then had been tortured. And so they are chained up there. There's the orc that I mentioned earlier that had been taken away, and then also there's a gnome who was a prisoner that he had been held in a separate part of the Earth Temple. So all four of them are chained up there on the top of that pyramid, and they had been intended for sacrifice. The head priest of the Earth Temple, he's those brown things are earth elementals, and he has directed them to attack the characters along with his own forces, and the Earth Temple priest has retreated behind the pyramid to hide and protect himself from any danger. So that's everything that's going on in this picture. Moving on a little bit, the fight has advanced somewhat. The main change here is that Garrett, the thief, because he's a thief, he's lightly armored. He can move really fast, especially if he's running. So he has dashed his way across the temple floor, dodging opponents, and has made his way to the central pyramid. And his goal was to try to pick the locks or do something so that Aramis and Obrak especially could be free of their chains that they're bound by on that central pyramid. So, unfortunately, the Earth Elementals, who are the recipients of the blood of the sacrifices, one of them took a swing at Garrett, and the Earth Elementals hit really, really hard. and one of the elementals took a swing at Garrett and punched him and sent him flying across the room almost halfway back to where he started. And of course, being low-level characters, and especially a thief, he didn't have a lot of hit points. And so the blow actually killed Garrett. You can't really tell, but his health bar is actually in the negative numbers. And so Garrett is actually lying there on the floor dead with his crow mischief fluttering about. Meanwhile, the head priest of the Earth Temple has climbed to the top of the pyramid along with his torturer, which is that hooded guy there. And his intent was to complete the sacrifice ceremony. And he had a knife for doing that. And in situations like this where, anybody could be the target, I roll randomly. And I do it in front of the players so that they know there's no bias or anything. It's just the luck of the dice. And so in this particular case, there's 4 prisoners up there, and I probably just said I'm going to roll a d4 starting with the gnome, number 1, and then going clockwise from there. And you can't see it in the screenshot, but like I say, I always roll these things in the open, so there's no question. And I rolled a 1, which is that gnome. And so the head priest of the Earth Temple used a ceremonial dagger and sacrificed that gnome. And part of the ceremony is pouring the blood of the sacrifice onto the waiting earth elemental. So it's all in the module. You can read it. That's what's going on here. So, saying that and realizing the extreme danger to Obrak and Aramis, that they might be the next ones to fall under the knife, Quint decided to use a Halloween item that he had received. And you can read the description there, but the bottom line is, once the owner drinks it, everybody within sight is essentially cannot do anything but stand there and cry for several rounds. And you can see the restrictions on that. Again, I'm not going to read it. But Quentin decided that this was a desperate situation enough to burn off this Halloween item that I had given him. So, Quint drank the potion, the effects went into play, and then Quint made a run for the pyramid himself. And everybody else, you can see, friend and foe alike, are essentially held in place for the time being. So, Quint ran to the top of the pyramid, and of course, being a cleric, he can't pick locks or anything. But what he did do was apply healing to Obrak, hoping that if he could restore Obrak's strength, that he might be able to break free of the chains on his own. If you go all the way back to when I showed the character stats, Obrak has 18 strength. So Quint's hope was that if he did some healing on him and got his strength back, he could break free on his own. And in this screenshot, Quint has moved around to Aramis and is doing the same thing, applying healing. Aramis also has 18 strength, and so Quint is hoping that if he can do some healing and restore his strength, that Aramis can break free on his own. Now, also up here, you see Rory, the halfling, has run up here. You'll remember a few screens back, Rory had tripped and fallen and knocked himself unconscious. And so he was not conscious when Quint drank the crocodile tear magic item. And so when he woke up from being unconscious, it had already the crocodile thing had already happened, and so he was unaffected by it. He didn't see it deploy, and so he was not affected by it. So, seeing what was going on, Rory ran up to the pyramid as well to try to help Quint get Obrak and Aramis free. So, after healing Obrak and Aramis, Quint and Rory both moved to attack the head priest of the Earth Temple, which, if you remember from the description, making any kind of aggressive action like that breaks the effect for everybody. And so the Earth Temple priest was able to essentially dodge or, use his armor class against the attacks. And he has a really high armor class, and so even though both Quint and Rory tried to attack him, he was unaffected by it. Again, the effects of the crocodile tears was dispelled, and now that the Sergeant Major has run up there as well to try to help out. So the head Earth priest, seeing that his whole plan was falling apart, he had on him a potion of speed, and he drank that and was able to run a great distance out of the chamber to try and save himself. He was immediately pursued by the Sergeant Major, and then also the few remaining Earth Temple forces were following as well. So you see the Sergeant Major there, kind of surrounded by the head Earth Temple priest and what few forces he had still alive. So in this screenshot, since the head Earth Temple priest had left the chamber, the Earth Elementals themselves more or less had free will again. And instead of waiting for a sacrifice, they moved to attack intruders, in this case, the characters. And the attack is not shown here, but one of the things that happened was Rory, the halfling, was hit by an Earth Elemental. And the blow not only killed him, but sent him flying literally out of this chamber and into the hallway there on the upper left-hand side. And you can see part of his character icon there just off of the dirt floor and back in the stone corridor. And then other characters are up there as well. So you have two things going on here. On the left-hand side, you see Otis and Thorol circling back down around the way they came, hoping to come up on the other side to help the Sergeant Major. And then on the other side, where the Sergeant Major is, both Aramis and Obrak, now that they've been refreshed and restored, were able to use their high strengths to break free from the chains. I think the chains are just bronze, so it's a softer metal, and they were able to break free. And so they both, once they were free, ran up here to help the Sergeant Major, because by this point he was surrounded by several enemies. But the main priest from the Earth Elemental Temple, he did not stay to fight. He continued running away and telling his minions to fight and cover his retreat, so he's gone somewhere. So the two groups there on the left, you can see Quint, Otis, and Thorol fighting some bugbears in the service of the Earth Temple. And then the Sergeant Major and Aramis and Obrak defeated those other guys, and they both circled around and met in the middle in this corridor. And you can see there's a flight of stairs going down deeper into the dungeons, but they were certainly in no condition to explore that. They were just happy to meet up and the group to be back together again. So they all circled back up and looked into the Earth Temple, the main area. No one alive was there. The Earth Elementals had all disappeared. And I didn't talk about this earlier, but when there's nothing going on, the Earth Elementals actually burrow themselves into the dirt floor here and then just lie in waiting until something happens. And the problem at this point was Garrett. If you remember, Garrett had been hit by an Earth Elemental and was dead, and he was lying in the middle of the dirt floor. And the characters wanted to try to retrieve his body. So Quint volunteered to make a running dash towards the central pyramid. One thing was he wanted to see what was in that chest on the pyramid. And also the idea was that if he ran in there, the characters assumed that the Earth Elementals would reappear, which they did, and that they would focus on Quint and the pyramid, which would give the other characters enough time to run in, grab Garrett's body, and drag him back into the hallway, out of the reach of the Earth Elementals. So Quint ran up onto the pyramid. He checked that chest. All that was in it was some ceremonial items for conducting sacrifices to the Earth Elementals. Nothing really of value. But now Quint is up on this pyramid surrounded by Earth Elementals, and there was really nothing he could do but just make a run for it. So he did. And you can see there towards the top of the right-hand side, you see Quint made an initiative roll. He got a 3. Me rolling on behalf of the Earth Elementals rolling 8. So the Earth Elementals won initiative, and the 2 on either side of Quint got to make attack rolls, which, had they hit, would have probably been pretty devastating for Quint, probably killed him. But you can see the abysmally low rolls I made. And so both elementals missed, and Quint was able to finish running out of the temple area unscathed. So with everyone out, both living and dead, the characters, first, Otis had to be back at Null before dawn, so he went back to his blacksmith shop. The characters continued on the road back to Hamlet, and the first thing they did was ride back to the Church of St. Cuthbert, and they had with them the bodies of both Garrett and Rory. And, as was described before, the priests here, Turgeon and Calmert, are not high enough level to do any kind of a resurrection. But so what the characters decided to do was they left the bodies of both Garrett and Rory here overnight. And their plan was the next day they would have Rory. They didn't have enough money to pay for 2 resurrections, knowing now how much it costs in Verbank, because I had to have Spugnor resurrected. And they didn't have enough money to have both Rory and Garrett resurrected, so they made the hard decision to lay Rory to rest here in the churchyard. And they would all temporarily pause their expedition against the temple and take Garrett to Verba and pay the priests at the main cathedral of St. Cuthbert there to have Garrett resurrected. So when the characters finally got back to the inn, they found that Elmo and Jasmine and Quan had returned from that trip that they had made a few days back. You'll remember the little girl that they rescued from the temple, Newt, and they had paid Elmo to escort her back to her home at Twilight Falls. And so everyone had come back, and Elmo claimed his promised reward. Jasmine and Quan confirmed that Newt got home all right. So the characters paid over Elmo his reward money so he could have his eating and drinking fund. And the characters spent the rest of the day and night resting up, intending to set out tomorrow morning for Verba and take Garrett with them to get him resurrected. All right, well, that's all I have for this episode. Again, if you are enjoying this line of videos, please consider hitting the like button and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. It's always good to get feedback. And share the video too if there's anywhere else that you know of that or people might enjoy it. So again, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Bye-bye for now.